I have a budget of £30 per week for food right now. And when you're rebuilding your life, you can't just buy any food that you want. It becomes a strategy. So in this video, I'm going to share what that looks like for me. And I'll also be sharing 2 meals that I created from the food that I bought that helps keep my energy level stable as well as keep me full for longer. Because when you're already on a tight budget, being hungry can be really hard. If you're new here, my name is Shirley. And on this channel, I share the realities of rebuilding life and financial independence while living solo. This includes mindset that I'm having to learn while I am rebuilding my life, midlife nutrition, hormone balance through food, and making simple meals from whole foods that help keep my energy levels steady and my brain fog at bay while life feels uncertain. One thing I've learned since starting over and rebuilding my life is that being on a tight budget changes the way you shop for food. You start thinking differently and start asking yourself questions every time you go for a shop, such as what foods will make my budget go further? Because life is tough enough, and you also don't want to be hungry all the time. And being at midlife as a woman, I also have to think about the effects of menopause and menopause symptoms on my body. But for all of us who are at midlife, because I know men go through changes as well, that we also have to think about what foods are doing to our body and how is it keeping us healthy, energized, and being able to live independently for ourselves. When you're rebuilding your life, you need food that works for you, food that keeps your energy steady, food that helps you think clearly, and food that doesn't leave you hungry an hour later. To be transparent, my food budget really only caters for my breakfasts when I do have breakfast, all of my lunches, and a couple of evening meals per week. You may not know that I live with family. We house share together. However, we have separate incomes and separate finances. I pay for my food, my bills, and everything else that I need, and they pay for theirs. One of the benefits of this is that I eat some of their food during the evening meals. This has been a real help for me, and I think life would be a bit more difficult if I didn't have that support. To make my £30 budget go further, I do tend to buy things that are on offer through the Tesco loyalty scheme. The other benefit of having a Tesco club card is that the amount of money that you spend, you get points for, and that can turn into more savings and you can turn it into discount vouchers. The other thing that helps make my budget go further is looking at the discounted shelves. Basically, these are the foods that have a sell by date on the date that I would have gone shopping. And the reason for the discount is they want to sell off the food on that day. And it makes life a lot cheaper. Depending how much money I have left for my budget for the month, if I do see something that I think, oh, that will be good to have, I will buy it and I will put it in the freezer. And in all honesty, my pride went out a long time ago. So I have to do the best I can to stretch my budget every month. However, truth be known, and probably like the rest of us, I do look forward to the day when I have more money and I can buy something that I want instead of thinking about how much of my budget I've got left. And also, life is short. Although we are on a tight budget, there are times when I think, stuff it. And I will buy certain foods, obviously, to a certain limit. What I buy every week are simple ingredients. However, I always try to build my meals around a few key things: vegetables, protein, and foods that help keep me full. Because when money is tight, the worst thing is constantly feeling hungry. So now I thought I'd share a couple of the meals that I created from some of the food that I bought, starting with my broccoli salad. And this includes broccoli, fennel, cucumber, and chickpeas. Broccoli and cauliflower are known as cruciferous vegetables, and they contain compounds that support estrogen balance, as well as supporting your gut bacteria that supports the metabolism of estrogen. And because I'm not on HRT for menopause and have never been, for me, this is my way of balancing my hormones through my food. Not only that, but broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables have got lots of fiber. And that's one of the reasons I pick them, is because fiber helps to keep you feel full for longer. So I like to vary the types of vegetables to I add to my base salad. And for this week, I've added fennel. Fennel supports digestion and your immune system. As it's also fiber rich, I found it supported the broccoli in helping me keep full for longer. I also like to add pulses to my salads as they provide a source of vitamin B6 to support your nervous system. And if you are like me and you've had to start over and rebuilding your life in some way, you'll know what a stressful time rebuilding can be. So for me, it's really important that I add in these foods that support me, not just in terms of my energy, but also to mitigate things like brain fog and low moods and other symptoms, not just related to menopause, but just aging in general. So, making myself a large batch of salad that will last me a few days is one of the ways that I make my budget stretch further. And also, who wants to be in the kitchen every day of the week preparing a fresh salad? So, I will make a big batch and put it in a glass container, and I'll have that for most of my lunches. And sometimes I'll also have it for my evening meals, namely because it helps keep me stay full for longer, and that helps me sleep better through the night. Now, if you are a woman going through menopause and you've chosen to go through menopause naturally, or maybe HRT for menopause just isn't for you, I have included a link in the description down below, and that will take you to a list of 20 foods that you may find helpful through your menopause journey. So the second meal I made was homemade hamburgers, and this was just from the 500-gram pack of minced beef and just a simple seasoning of salt and pepper. And once I've mixed everything together, I divided the meat into 3 patties, which means that I get 3 meals out of the 500-gram pack of mince. Lately, I've been trying to include a lot more protein in my meals, and the reason for this is mostly because I've been going to the gym. And I don't know about you, but the more I exercise, the hungrier I get. So, to stop myself from snacking on junk, I add more protein into my meals. And having these burgers or whatever protein I tend to have helps me stay full for longer. The other reason that I'm having more protein in my meals is that it supports my energy to stay stable during the night. Because one of my menopause symptoms, especially when I'm doing a lot of physical activity, is that if I don't eat enough, I will wake up hungry in the middle of the night and find it hard to get back to sleep again. So, for me, adding more protein rich foods in my diet is one of the strategies that I use to help me get better, more restful sleep. Protein helps you to stay full for longer. And this really matters when you're managing on a tight food budget. It also supports recovery and strength, which becomes even more important as we get older. So, simple meals like this actually work really well. One thing I've learned while rebuilding my life is that simple foods really are the best. You don't need complicated recipes or even lots of expensive ingredients, just a few basic ingredients and preferably whole foods that support and nourish your body while you are going through these changes and rebuilding your life. Especially when you're trying to rebuild your life, look after your health, and keep life manageable at the same time. Right now, I'm still rebuilding my life. and I want to stay as independent for as long as possible. Which is why it's important that even though I am on a budget, that I choose foods that support my brain function so that I'm able to do what I need to do, as well as keep me healthy and strong as I age so I can stay as independent for as long as possible. And part of that is learning how to eat well without overspending. So if you are navigating midlife, living solo, and rebuilding your life step by step, I hope that this video gives you some ideas and a little reassurance that you can nourish yourself with simple foods. Seeing as I'm determined to get myself out of this tight budget situation, I will be sharing more videos on nutrition because I might as well use my knowledge of nutrition to help move my life forward. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.